Speaking of Johnsons, where's Larry Johnson at?
Oh, boy.
We won't even talk about that. He already lost his fantasy football league already.
Mendenhall makes the list for the second time in a row, but now he's kind of banged up, so we'll wait and see what happens.
Tashard may actually end up being a good choice. He's been a bad choice so far, but he may end up being a good choice. Moving on to wide receivers, Austin Miles is topping the list as usual. He's the usual #1 receiver, right?
If Randy Moss is on the top of the list, it's usually Miles Austin.
I think Miles Austin was the most dropped player in fantasy football history on CBS Sportsline. This guy only had 6 catches coming in. He dropped at least 3 balls that I knew of, that I saw him drop in the previous 4 games. But then he comes up huge. And should have had 4 touchdowns. He dropped 2 in the end zone. So
I actually saw that boy play last year when I went to the Dallas Redskins game, and he made some really good plays for like a guy I'd never even heard of at the time. So
he broke a few Dallas Cowboys single game records right there with 10 catches for 250 yards and 2 touchdowns. And he provided the big entertainment at the end, winning the game for him on a 60-yard touchdown pass from Tony Romo.
Yeah, we all get the jokes. Austin's better than Dallas. We know.
I almost got beat by Jeremy Macklin, who checks in here at number 3. But
that'd have been a sad story if you lose to him.
The story, I actually had to credit the football guys for giving me the update. I was about to start Mike Sims Walker 5 minutes before the game started. I got an email from Joe Bryant, Football Guys, saying, "Look, Mike Sims Walker is inactive for the game. Consequently, I had just enough time to insert Ted Ginn into my lineup between Guinea and the non-scoring. Sorry for not pronouncing that right. The non-scoring Sims Walker, who actually scored 0 points, surprisingly, and Guinea scored about 15 points or so, and I ended up winning my game by 10 points.
And that's why you pay $150 a year for that yearly.
I've actually got
about time it pays off. I've
got such a better story. Like Matt Vaughn was playing Larry Legallo in our fantasy league, and we all went to the game in Baltimore this past weekend. And Matt, gets all the emails from the football guys and everything. He was playing against Larry, who happened to have Sims Walker on his team. He kind of forgot to tell him that Sims Walker was not going to be starting in that game until after it was over. Hey man, sorry, I got this email here. It says he didn't play today, so sorry about that.
Way to rub it in, Matt.
Yeah.
A few guys that we see at the top of this list too. We all see Roddy White and Andre Johnson are used to being on the top 12 list, but a guy like Nate Burleson, Austin Collie, TJ Hushmanzada, who for the second straight week has done very, very well and caught.
And wasn't I on board with Burleson and Hushmanzada to begin the season and said that they were going to have a good resurgence there?
Yeah, you said the same thing about Hasselbeck.
I'll give you that. Yeah, I'll give you that on the Seattle passing, the vertical attack in Seattle. I'll give you that.
As long as Hasselbeck was playing, there's a big caveat there.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, right.
But what we're going to do is to finalize and definitize what's going to happen here at the Indianapolis receiving situation, because we can't be going back with Collie and Pierre Garçon,
Well, it's like you got to flip a coin or something like that. Who knows?
All right, I don't know what's going to happen there, fellas.
And what about Braylon Edwards coming from the Browns to the Jets, getting a score in that big pivotal first and goal at the 1 yard line, which could have won the game for him too. So hats off to Braylon Edwards. Didn't drop any passes either, guys.
That was very solid. All the commentators have already marked on that, how great that was for his first week with a new team to be able to do that. That was great.
And clearly his old team could have easily used him in the last game because they were busy in a pillow fight, Doug, 6-3.
Oh, yeah, that was a great one.
In that game against Buffalo.
We'll spend 20 minutes on that game later, though.
Yeah.
And then as far as the tight ends are concerned, it's good to see Kellen Winslow Jr. on the charts again before he gets injured this year. We don't know when it'll be, but he'll probably get injured within the next few games and be out for the year.
And I'm sure you're happy to see Jeff King on the list again, too.
And, Jeff King is from Virginia Tech. Thanks for bringing that up, Phil. It's good to see him on there, and it's really good to see Anthony Fasano, because on the fantasy team on which I have him, my starting tight end, whose name is Antonio Gates, was not available. I believe he had a bye week.
He had a bye week, yeah.
And so I started Anthony Fasano, and what a great time for him to show up, It was really good.
All the stars are aligning for Doug Cook, it seems like.
It might be. This might be the time of year.
The Fasano thing, the Sims Walker thing.
Things to start coming together for me.
If only you hadn't drafted Larry Johnson, huh?
You know what? I don't regret that yet, because he hasn't done anything yet, and I haven't really started him yet. So.
And we'll let Robbie talk real quick about Brent Selleck. I know you've had some excitement about him for quite some time.
I drafted this guy in the 14th round. He was a big-time sleeper. Took a flag on him. And he's done nothing but produce, and he's got 4 touchdown catches on the year.
And that's because Robbie was busy drafting Greg Olsen in the 4th round.
Oh yeah, that's true. Let's not talk about that. I think you called me to tell me to take Olsen.
Sure, I never did such a thing.
All right, we're halfway through the show, fellas. We got to start covering some bye weeks. This week's bye, Dallas and San Fran. No, they're not playing, but they both do have bye weeks, and San Fran could really use it after that drubbing they took from Atlanta. And I would hate to be the team. I haven't looked to the next week's schedule yet to see who San Fran is playing, but I would hate to be the team that's playing them because I think they're going to come out angry. And I think Frank Gore is due to come back in that game, right?
He's definitely going to come back at some point, Doug, very soon. I would expect, after the bye, that'd be a good time for him to come back.
Yeah, but watch out. He's had high ankle sprain, and that can linger throughout the whole entire season.
It really can.
Yeah, we really don't know how good he's going to be. I don't know if he's going to be his number one running back self coming into next week's game. Well, take a flag on this guy. We don't know.
Well, at any rate, you can't start any of these guys this week unless you want to throw your fantasy football game, in which case you should probably be kicked out of the league. Phil, I believe you've had some issues like that in your league before.
It's always hard to try to deal with those kinds of players, but they happen in every league. I mean, there's some tough bye weeks this week. I mean, you have the Colts who have every player you can think of on their team is a guy you would want to start, and then likewise with Miami in their running game. I don't know if you're going to be that excited about starting. Missing out on Chad.
Well, I tell you what, he did a really solid job in that Jets game. His first full game starting versus the Jets. He did a good job directing, and his arm strength is really not in question here, and his accuracy was really solid. We'll see if he can repeat that in the future.
I think you pick this guy up on the waiver wire right now because this guy's
pick him up this week.
Absolutely.
Because he's on bye week, and other people are probably going to be ignoring him, saying, I can't get anything out of a bye week player.
Right.
Pick him up now if you need some quarterback help.
I heard people comparing him to Marino during that game.
That's way.
I knew you were about to go there, but I was waiting for you to say it, man.
That's way out of the league. That's way out of his league right now. But at any rate, it's tough bye week. Certainly Ricky Williams and Ginn helped me out last week, and Ronnie Brown on my other team. So these are players you can't start this week. I'm sorry to say, people.
Let me ask you one thing.
I even have Joseph Adai.
We're talking about Ted Ginn. Is Ted Ginn, Doug, somebody who can depend on week in and week out, or is he just going to be like a wild card? Hope you have been there on the right day.
Well, I don't know, Phil, but you're going to have a lot of fun saying it's Chad to Ted and stuff like this. So I look forward to seeing them, hooking up together, and that's going to be, that could be the wave of the future. Henny to Guinea.
Do you want to try to say that one time, Robbie?
I'm not going to
give it a shot, man.
No, absolutely not. Let's go on the next slide then.
All right.
On that note.
Yeah, on that note, we have the hometown Washington Redskins favored by almost 7 points versus Kansas City. The fact that they're favored at all is hard to believe, but
I know, but let alone by that many points.
Kansas City should have beaten Dallas last week. They were ahead the whole entire game. All three quarters they're ahead. Matt Castle did a great job, threw for 2 touchdowns. Look for Matt Castle to find Dwayne Bowe a couple times against the Redskins. I know they have a great secondary, but Washington, a lot of the players on the team are kind of packing it in. I know they're 2-3, but they're calling for Jim Zorn's head right here. This is a great spot in Kansas City, catching 6.5 points right here. I'd take Kansas City all day, every day.
Yeah, I would have to agree with that. It was good to see Clinton Portis get on the board last weekend, finally.
About time. And Santana Moss had a great game, too. And let's not shy away from Jason Campbell's efforts. I know they were still calling a lot of screen passes. And,
they're futile.
And halfback dives up the middle because Jim Zorn can't call a play. But Jason Campbell's he's working with what he's got.
Well, Phil, this is your hometown Washington Redskins here. Have you given up on them or what?
Doug, I'm really struggling right now with my pro football and my college football allegiances. Florida State is just like completely in the tank. We have problems with our head coach down in Tallahassee. For a long time now, we've been wanting Bobby Bowden to, go play golf or retire, like do whatever. But makes him feel good. He's a legend. Jim Zorn is not a legend, though. I mean, this is a guy that you can let go.
He's being picked apart by the media right now, and for good measure too, because his play call is very suspect, and he hasn't really shown me why he's a great head coach in the NFL. He's not a disciplinarian. He's more of a player's coach, but the players don't seem to like this guy.
He's barely into his second year there, Rob. I mean, I don't know if he's a great coach or not.
He hasn't shown me anything in the play calling nor in the quarterback position where that's his so-called expertise.
Like if Martz were there, he expected Jason. Don't forget about Jason Campbell's first half of last year, though. He came out and he threw 0 interceptions for 8 games.
He did great. And then what happened to his last 8 games? Oh, yeah, that's right. They went 2-6 down the stretch.
That's right.
I think Kansas City gives Washington everything they have. I think they pick up their first win in D.C.
And they probably will because the Redskins, they've beaten.
And it's all about Matt Castle. I think he's a must start against the Redskins. He had 2 touchdown passes, threw for 240 yards last week.